This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by promoter Ben Shalom here in Manchester. Ben, we're back in your home city here in Manchester. You love putting a show on here.
You know what? I was speaking to the general manager at the arena, and I think we've put on more shows than any promoter, any artist at the Manchester Arena in the past 2 years. Love it here, but obviously love the big events. It's our third pay-per-view event at the Manchester Arena. The atmosphere is incredible. In January it was ridiculous, and I'm looking forward to Saturday night.
Ben, it was obviously a long drawn-out process. Trying to get this one over the line. There's all the talk of Eubank potentially facing kind of Ben, along other stuff. Was you ever somewhat doubting if this fight would ever happen?
Not really. Usually when both fighters want it, the fight happens, and both fighters always wanted this fight. Eubank reactivated his rematch clause way back in February now. It does feel like it's the fifth time we're promoting Smith-Eubank. There has been different things going on. Even the first fight was meant to happen in December, if people remember, but we are here now, and credit to both guys, because when you get an injury at that stage of your career, particularly for Liam Smith, you worry, but he's an ultimate professional. He's worked through it. He's done everything he needs to be fit for this date, and Eubank as well, who had bigger money options, not just the kind of Ben fight, has easier options. And for me, he's answering a lot of critics with this fight. He's always been criticised for not taking the hard fights, for not proving himself. He believes he'll win on Saturday night. He's the one that's demanded this rematch, and I think he deserves a lot of credit, because a lot of people are counting him out. The same people that I guess were counting Liam Smith out the first time are now counting Eubank out, and he's really determined, really well prepared, and I can't wait. I think we'll see the fight that we always thought we would see, and it will go longer and perhaps the distance, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That was going to be my next question. I don't think anybody had predicted the first fight to play out in the manner that it did. So heading into the rematch, Liam's now the favourite. A lot of question marks over Junior, his desire, how will he make the weight again? Are you confident that this one does go longer and delivers even more fireworks than what we saw first time around?
I think it has to. I think, look, the first fight was incredible in terms of what happened, in terms of how it ended. But I think if you'd have, and no one could have bet on that. No one, you have a lot of boxing experts, and yes, a lot of people believe Liam Smith would win. No one believed that Smith-Eubank Jr would be knocked out in 4 rounds. Then you look back, you look at the preparation for the fight, you look at what happened in the previous 12 months, both in the ring, outside the ring, personally, weight cuts, everything. If Smith-Eubank Jr., who has been in there with bigger guys, who has been in there with big punches, if he can return to the conditioning, I think, of the resilience and the preparation that he's had, that we know him for and that we loved him for and we loved watching him, then we're going to have a hell of a fight, and there's no way that it can be finished that early. But Liam Smith knows what he's doing, and the fact is he'll have known he could hurt him before he'll have thought he could hurt him before the first fight. Now he knows he can, and I think that is that's going to play into Liam Smith's hands. I think he's extremely confident this time. But, as I say, we are going to see whatever's left of Smith-Eubank Jr. we're going to see on Saturday night, because he has left no stone unturned for this. He's been a completely different character to the first fight. He's locked himself away. He's trained rigorously. He's got a team around him for the first time. He's got strength and conditioning around him for the first time. We're seeing things that we've not seen before. And, yeah, we are in for an amazing fight on Saturday night.
And you have Frazer, Clarke and Dave Allen in the ring there. They're getting ready for a heavyweight tussle come Saturday night. What challenges does Dave still pose to Frazer, Clarke? We haven't seen him in with that high level of an operator for a few years now, going back to the David Price fight. So what do you think that Dave still has that will pose a challenge to Frazer?
I think the answer is we don't really know. What I do know is that, speaking to Jamie Moore yesterday, Dave's in very, very good shape. He says the fittest he's been in 5 years. I think the difference between Dave Allen and Frazer Clarke is, of course, Frazer will want to prove his levels above this, and there's a lot of pressure on him in Saturday night. But Dave Allen, he's been on these box office shows. He's been on these big nights. He's fought professionally a lot of big names. Like, that's what Frazer's going to have to get used to. This is the highest profile fight he's had to date. He'll be looking to show his levels above. But it's a massive night. There's a lot of pressure on him, and yeah, it's a fight that's generated a huge amount of interest.
Where did things ever land with those talks which were ongoing in the background over a potential Fabio Wardley fight before the board obviously ordered the David Adelaide fight?
Look, we tried and offered a lot of money, but ultimately, since that fight, Frazer's going to have fought twice. We're still waiting to see Fabio fight. Whether what's going on with the David Adelaide fight is still something that I feel now, is still something that Frazer wants. But until that situation sorted out, you know, we're going to continue. We're keeping Frazer active. We're building him. We're putting him in fights that he wants to be in. And yeah, delighted with his progression so far. And yeah, he's got a lot of pressure on him. I want him to show his levels above on Saturday.
And the return of Azim is just getting his hands wrapped there before he does his open workout. The fight which was meant to headline a couple of months ago, we get it now. What are you hoping that Adam's able to show?
It feels like when the fight has been that active and he's now been out the ring, you know, only for a few months, but it feels a lot longer. I think for Adam, it's a joy to work with because he wants to become a world champion literally, you know, within the next 12, maximum 18 months. That requires a certain level of opponent. Aaron Fanian, people might say, why take a risk? He brings no profile, he brings no name value, but it's all about preparation for what lies ahead. He wants to win a European title this year. This is a real tough test, in my opinion. Aaron Fanian coming over here to win. Extremely experienced fighter, and for Adam to be on a stage like this, for me against Santos Reyes, he takes a lot of questions, and for him to go 10 rounds and be that comfortable with a hand injury, that was all we needed. We know he's got the talent, we know he's physically ready. Is he mentally ready for the big nights and the big moments? And obviously this is a huge card, a huge opportunity for him to show how good he is, and then we kick on.
Ben, just picking that back up there, I know you've got Sky duties which you've got to go take care of. Yeah, Richard Riakporhe, what's the latest?
We'll have news in the next 7 to 10 days. We've worked with Richard a long time. I know there's a lot of scrutiny over what he does next, but we worked extremely hard to get him number one in 2 governing bodies. He's in a very, very good position. He's someone that we feel has huge potential, not just in the cruiserweight division and the heavyweight division. And luckily he has options. He's worked hard to be in the number 1 position and the mandatory position. We always knew that was the option, the Chris Bill and Smith fight. But he also has another option that I don't want to announce fights before they're announced. But yeah, hopefully announcement in the next 7 days.
Ben, we haven't spoken since obviously Richard was pulled out of those purse bids for the Riakporhe fight. I want to get your understanding as to why that happened. Obviously all the fallout since Eddie Hearn and Frank Smith saying that Boxer rather, had reached out to their co-promoters of Riakporhe to try and still make the fight, asking not to tell. Matchroom, can you tell us your side of the story?
First of all, from what I understand, they were definitely not asked to tell. Second of all, it didn't come from me. And third of all, the main concern from our side was from seeing Riakporhe's comments. Did he actually know the numbers that were on the table? Did he know the offer that was on the table? On that very same day, that was a fight that we moved on from on that day. Eddie knows what happened there. And as I say, there was a concern from someone that works with us that maybe Riakporhe didn't actually know what was on the table for him. We were told that he was 100% going to fight in Australia, that he was going to be built in Australia, that he had the government behind him and everything, and that was the whole plan. And now he's fighting in London in 4 or 5 weeks. So, look, luckily Richard's in a very fortunate position where he can earn more money and fight for world titles, and that's the plan.
Can I ask Ben, obviously with Eddie and Frank, they're quite adamant that you don't seem to want to have your fighters lose on a purse bid basis with them because they'd go and fight on another platform. Obviously we saw what happened with Frazer. Is that the case? Are you kind of reluctant to lose fighters to other platforms?
It's definitely not the case. I think, look, we work with a huge amount of other promoters. Even on this card, you know, on Saturday, we're working with Top Rank, we're working with Wasserman, we're working with Queensbury, with Heffron. You know, we want to work with other promoters, but ultimately, there's a lot people don't see behind the scenes. And if the opportunity, whether it's the money or the fight at the right time, doesn't stack up in line with other opportunities that fighter has at that current time, then that's a decision we're going to make. And look, since I got my promoter's license at 23 years old, you have to have thick skin. We're always, when you come into an established business, you know, established players are gonna make things difficult for you, but ultimately we'll just keep doing what we're doing. We're focused on the next 3 fight nights. We've got a huge card on Saturday night. We are very early on in our development. I can't believe where the stable's got to. I can't believe the fight nights that we've got coming up with Eubank Smith and the Dubois, Simpson, Vidal night, and then Buatsi Aziz, and that was what we're focused on. But yeah, we want to work with other promoters. I think it's very clear that we work with almost every promoter that we can, and that will continue.
Well, Ben, I know you've got to go deal with Sky now, so I appreciate your time. Thanks for speaking to me.